Let's move to the NCA Money Desk. Devin Murrigan joining us now. Devin, it's such a big day. 1.5 million South Africans or so were expected to have been back in the office. Certainly we saw more cars on the road. We saw over the weekend that more shops are opening. But how much of our economy is open, and is it opening enough to see the money start to flow, which is, of course, what we need?
No, absolutely, but not opening up to that extent yet, Sally. I mean, about 1.5 to 2 million people physically returning to work today. I mean, these are in industries approved by government last week for the level 4 lockdown phase. So you have everything from agriculture to essential manufacturing, operating, of course, at reduced capacity. It comes as we digest what Treasury presented to Parliament last week. Not a pretty picture. We could see economic growth for this year at anything between -5% and -12%. It could be -16% if the lockdown stays in for longer. The amount of jobs that could be lost ranges from 3 to 7 million, depending on how long those restrictions are in place once again. And we thought we'll get an insight now on some of those numbers. Independent economist Thabi Leoka joins us via Skype. Thabi, thanks very much indeed for talking to us. Well, a return to activity today. Perhaps it's a start, perhaps a spark. But of course, we still have a long way to go to get to real activity. And the forecasts just keep getting worse, don't they?
Absolutely. So what is important is that those companies that are opening need to adhere to health protocols. And as more and more companies are able to open and adhere to health protocols, we'll start seeing the opening up of the economy. But we need to be mindful of the risk of infection. And so as we open, we need to open slowly and systematically. We cannot just open the economy up because it's going to be, there's a big risk to it. But at the same time, so we do have a few sectors and companies that are open. For instance, the restaurant industry has been allowed to open, provided that there's takeaways. Mining is operating at around 50% of normal capacity. We also have hardware, stationery, winter clothes, etc. So it is a bit of a difference between level 4 and level 5. However, especially this is for the manufacturing sector. We live in a globalized society, in a globalized world, and there is the global value chain. So, to make a component, be it a car or a bicycle, requires components from elsewhere in the world. So if our main trading partners, US, Germany, China, for instance, have change. So what we'll see is that, going back to my global value chain example, is that when there is a demand for a certain product, and we cannot get it because we cannot import it because value chains globally are not also open, have not opened up. What can be done domestically is that the local market can substitute, so it can find a gap and start creating whatever it is that we used to import. There were companies, so there's a company called AECI, and this is a company that was created, listed on the JSE. It was created after World War I think II, if I'm not mistaken. And it's a South African company that was created because we used to import components that used to be used by mines in terms of explosives. And in the absence of explosives because of the World War, this company then emerged and we started producing explosives domestically. So that's just a pure example of what can happen in the absence of international exported goods, is that the local production can also start picking up and we can have new industries on the back of a shortage of components. And that is actually quite exciting, because then we will start seeing this new emerging industries that we've always been talking about, but we haven't really done anything about. And so with this crisis, I think there are great opportunities that can emerge.
And hopefully we can stave off that worst-case scenario, Thabi, of 7 million jobs being lost through this period. Thanks very much indeed. Thabi Leoka is an independent economist.